Welcome to another garden vlog, and guess what I found in our grocery store again? Cherry plums are back on the shelves. So cherry plums are not a common rootstock in Florida or the southeast, but they will do pretty good in the wetter areas. So not only when you go to the grocery store do you get some really nice tasting fruit, you also get the seeds, so we can clean them up, cold stratify them, and hopefully save about $4 or more per plant. You know, if we can get these guys to grow for a couple years and survive, even if 50% of them survive, guess what? We already got our field. We already got our money's worth just by eating these guys. Even though when you have 3 kids that love them, these guys will disappear in like 20 minutes probably. So maybe we should have bought like 2 or 3 or 5 cartons of these guys. They do not produce here because we do not get enough chill hours in Florida for these guys. They probably need like 600 or 800 chill hours, I believe. So why do they call them cherry plums? Well, it kind of looks like a cherry, especially with the stem attached, and they're about the size of a very nice large cherry. Can I keep the kids away from them, or at least control when they eat these guys and what they do with the pits, so I can collect those pits and, like I said, clean the pits up and, you know, cold stratify them so that these guys can be future rootstock for all of our little experiments. And since David the Good recently did a video about, you know, hey, just plant all your plums and peaches and nectarines and all in the ground, you just cold stratify them and put them in the ground, put them in pots, you know, it's kind of gotten me to say, you know, even if we get a bad peach, and most of the time you buy grocery store peaches or anything, nectarines, plums, they're not very good. You still have that pit, you know, so save the pit and see if you get your money's worth, you know, by cold stratifying them and propagating them and just planting them as, you know, wherever they are happy. So on the last video we released, we did avocados in the ground and a white sapote, several jaboticabas, North American purple sweet potato. I think that's it. Here's the white sapote, still looking good, and there's one of the jaboticabas, and I think all the jaboticabas are looking pretty much the same. They still look okay, but the avocados are all over the place. Right here, check that out. Very sickly looking. Now the one we planted in that post-mycorrhizal bed looked like it was dead or dying probably within 12 or 24 hours of planting it, and it probably won't make it. The stem is still green, but the leaves are all brown and nasty, and that's got some brown there. It's got a lot of drooping at the top, and several of them are like that. So we have somewhere around 4 looking droopy, 1 looking very sick, and maybe 3, I don't know exactly how many we planted, at least 3 that look like they're doing pretty good. Hopefully time in the ground, and this was just transplant stress on the roots, rain, being watered in, and just time will snap these guys out of it. You know, I can't promise you that. They might get worse, they might just die here. But I guess this is a good reason to have bulk seedlings and plant them all around. And I'll just mention too that when we're at the furthest area where our property meets the forest, there are invasives here, and somebody pointed out to me, oh, get rid of all the air potatoes. Well, there are air potatoes, camphors, and coral ardesias at this back area, and we used to mow every bit of it, but guess what? There are thousands of them just across our fence. And they're constantly climbing up these trees and dropping these air potato bulbs off, and the corallardesia not only seem to spread through the fruit, the berries, they also seem to root sucker just everywhere. This guy here, this avocado, is the best looking one. And this is where we used to grow sunchokes here. And we have turmeric, we got a couple Suriname cherries here growing out, ginger, maybe a few other things. But for the most part, it's a wild bed. You got beauty berries, you got wild grapes here. Dog fennel, Biden's elbow, who knows what else. But yeah, this guy looks the best, so hey, if we get a couple that take off, that's better than having zero. And we have this guy here, he's a little bit droopy. This is another GHB avocado growing under a big, giant, probably 40 foot or so camphor tree. And you know, I have such bad luck. You know, what's weird is, look, there's stuff growing all over here. You got like sage, you got some pine trees, cherry laurel, Virginia creeper, camphor, red maple, all these plants and weeds growing here, including wax myrtles. But every time I've planted seeds or something in here, tried to root something in here, nothing that I put in here ever survived. So now this is the next thing. You know, last year I put a full pumpkin, small pumpkin in there, because I read that you could put a pumpkin in the ground and the next season those seeds would all sprout up. And guess what? It didn't happen here. There's no sun. So there we go. We put a avocado under this big old hill, this root system. This is all camphor roots creating this hill over, 40, 50 years. Are there some type of chemical repellents in the root systems of camphor trees that, limit what grows under them? Just like black walnuts have that, what's it called, juglone or whatever. And even pecan trees have a small amount of that. But what's interesting is you can't usually grow a pecan tree under or around a root system of a black walnut, because the levels, those chemical levels, are so much higher that even the pecan trees cannot survive. What are we eating? What are we eating, Jarrett? Oh, you got a cherry plum. And we also got some fresh figs here. Guess what you do after you eat your plum? You eat around the seed, and then you put it in this cup of water.
The seed?
Yep, after you eat all that flesh. Let me try one here. This is nice and soft.
Oh man, it failed. I gotta get a different one. Oh,
these are always found it. Okay, and I cleaned mine up just a little bit better. Going into the water to ferment. Looks like we got another potential storm coming here. A lot of wind, a lot of thunder. Had a little bit of sprinkle a few minutes ago. We need the rain though, I guess. Well, here comes the rain again. Well, I was so wanting to get some plants in the ground today, but Natalie's been in a mood and everything has been hectic. Some of you guys probably know how that is. And now it's raining, but we need the rain. We're getting a lot of figs too. And I see, if we had a ladder, we could get several more. But this rain hopefully will blow those figs up a little bit bigger. This year they've been extra small, but they're still extra sweet and really good. But we are kind of tired of the sugar figs or brown sugar figs or honey figs or whatever you call them. So hopefully all the other fig varieties we have in the ground or in pots will take off. It's another day and I found actually 3 plum cots. These are the 2 smallest. Unfortunately, I found the one that's probably 2 or 3 times this size underneath my lawnmower after I ran over it. And I kept looking at it and I said, that's not a pear. That can't be a pear. It looks like a peach, you know, because of that nice red color. I said, there's no way I'm not going to eat it. So it was full of dirt. I washed it. I kind of opened it up, washed all the dirt in it, and I split it with the family. They all loved it. And we're collecting the seeds, just like those cherry plum seeds. But maybe, just maybe, these guys could be viable plants for pollination if they can survive on their own roots for that one and give us plenty of dinosaur eggs. So there we go. We're going to ferment them, clean them up in water, cold stratify, and hope for the best. Well, I really couldn't plan that much better because that kind of ties into this cold stratify your prunus, you know, your seeds. Now, you probably not recommend it for apples. You know, use oranges at your own risk, you know, because it takes a long time. But prunus, like 2, 3, 4 years, and you usually have flowers and fruit. At least if you get enough chill hours for the genetics that's in that seed. And if we can't get a plum tree, plum cot, something from an outside source that not only has a rootstock that's going to keep it alive, but also doesn't flower at the same general time as that plum cot, then you know you get that low pollination rate. But these seeds have some of the genetics from their mother tree, so maybe, hopefully, we can get some to survive, some to flower, and help pollinate that mother tree and each other. Now, yesterday we trimmed our Kokuso, our Collier, and our Chiang Mai 60 little plants that were in the pot, and we're trying to root them. They're small. They say green summer cuttings do better than the old cuts, so let's see if these guys will root at all, because we really do want to make a backup. And Chiang Mai 60, technically we do have a small one in the ground, hasn't done the best. We want to have that backup, so we want to have 2 in the pots at least, so we can either give away or plant another one out somewhere else. And Collier, we have no backups of. Kokuso, we have no backups of. So let's hope all 3 of these guys take. Check this out. There's a Barbados cherry starting to get ripe. This is sort of my mulberry ICU here. So we got grafts and cuttings, and most likely these guys aren't going to make it. This is a ton of the last 2 or 3 shipments or whatever that, you know, a lot of them shot nice green growth out. Then they kind of flopped and turned brown. So maybe it's a little bit too hot to try to do a lot of these cuttings. Maybe we're going to have to try it next year as early as possible before hot weather comes. I'll just say that this seems to be an amazing year for this everbearing elderberry, you know, and we've been growing them for years, and I don't think they've ever had this many big seed heads, or shall I say this big of seed heads. Now those there, way in the air. Very nice. So we're on the other side of the plant now. Check those out. That's probably like 12, like 14, 15 inches. Here's a smaller one. Got some really nice sized berries. I like that purple coloration around the stems as they start to ripen. These guys would definitely rival 2015 best, except in the smell department. You know, they're not as floral, the flowers on these guys. So 2015 best is still the best that we have produced here. We are finding quite a bit of Fuyu persimmons here that have, I think the squirrels have knocked them off. I see them running with them all the time. There's piles and piles of, Hopefully we have some actual persimmons. See, there's one there. Hopefully we have some before the season ends. Well, we put a new carburetor right here on our new mower, new used mower, Craftsman, 46-inch cut. And it's been raining off and on all day. Not super hard rain, but supposedly at 6 p.m. tonight in about 2-3 hours, probably 2 hours, we're going to get 0.39 inches of rain, so almost half an inch of rain if the weather predictions are right. One of my neighbors yesterday gave me, I think these are French marigolds, and they seem to be fine in the summer here, where whatever we're getting at nurseries just do not do well in the summer, or really when it's frosting too. But he says these reseed like crazy in his compost piles. And that neighbor actually uses, he's got a grass catcher on his lawnmower, so he's always making compost piles with that. Plus he's got like several ponds that sort of overflow into each other, and he can pump them back and forth when there's not a lot of rain. And when some of them do dry out, he gets the muck, that swamp muck, that fish poo and stuff, and he puts on his garden. So he's got compost from the grass and compost from the ponds that are feeding his plants. And some of them look amazing, as okra and stuff like that. Looks really good, really thick stems, from that pond muck. I told him, I said, I've even tried to get 100% black cow on a lot of the same things that you're planting your plants in. And your plants look way better than mine on cow poop. I did just a little bit of mowing out our trails a little bit more, and I know we probably owe you guys a trail video where we're showing us going through like wetlands on one in different areas in our yard. But our gas tank and our mower is leaking, so not only did we need a new carburetor, we need to fix the gas tank. It had a bolt that was not even screwed all the way in on one of the blades, so probably just age and rust just made it kind of stick and work for like really short grass. But as soon as we hit our grass, I could hear something. I knew one blade was working and one blade wasn't, and you could tell it had been a long time since those blades were tightened up, and they were almost impossible to loosen up so that we could lubricate and clean the bolts up and put them back on those spindles or whatever. And the guy we bought the mower from said it had a new battery installed. Guess what? It's a kind of a half dead battery. It'll last a little while if you crank it up, once a week or something, maybe, as long as you're not flooded out or anything, and it hits it, within like 3, 4, 5 seconds of turning it over and cranks. But not if it's flooded, and not if you've not used it in like a week. Plus I asked the guy about the tires. I said, are the tires good on it? He said, well, I've had it sitting right here for 2 weeks and the tires are still good and full. Guess what? One of those tires goes down within a day or two of airing it up. The other two might last a week or two, and then they go flat. So this guy ripped this off majorly, and I'm not mechanically inclined, but I did have a bad feeling about it. We just don't have access to our own truck, our own trailer to get things like this delivered. So I was kind of pushed into buying something close by and early on into my looking for one, versus waiting and finding one that I knew that would most likely have less problems. The mulching blades on it, I guess I'm okay with it having mulching blades. I didn't prefer that, but I think I'm going to go ahead and utilize the mulching deck and get some new blades most likely. So we're going to have a lot of money in this guy once everything is fixed. But hopefully it'll work out and it'll last quite a few years. A couple other cool things, updates or whatever. Of course, I don't have it on video or pictures, but I see, I think, 2 either root suckers or seedlings from the tree, my main tea tree. Remember, I picked one. That's not it, but it's similar. A few months ago, and it's doing well. Then there's like 2, at least 2 about that tall, maybe 2 or 3 inches, and we're going to let them grow, and hopefully we'll have 2 more plants we can pluck out of there once they get a little bit of growth and give it the best chance of transplanting without dying. And I guess lastly, I found another pawpaw sucker from the Tennessee avocado pawpaw, and I'm going to show you probably in the next video, if I can remember. One of the grafts I put on there has some big, humongous leaves, and probably larger than any of the mature pawpaw trees that I have or had, including that Tennessee avocado that was like 25, 26 years old. So that's kind of neat. But for now, I think, my battery's almost dead. It's sprinkling, mosquitoes are bad. Yeah, I wish I could get some plants in the ground, but you know what? We don't need to make this video 3, 4, 5 days long. We can do it in 2 days. And yeah, so take care, guys, and hopefully we'll get some plants in the ground on the next video.